How do personal injury cases work? Hey everyone, Anthony Riccio here of Riccio Law, a Massachusetts personal injury and criminal defense law firm with offices in Quincy and Attleboro. The question, how do personal injury cases work, although relatively straightforward, the answer to that question is not so straightforward. While there are certain steps and procedures that any personal injury case will likely follow, especially when it sees its way through the entire civil legal process, including a trial, the fact remains that over 90% of civil cases, including personal injury cases, don't ever go to trial. And a number of potential personal injury claims even settle before a lawsuit's ever even filed in court. In cases where liability generally isn't in question, there's not really a dispute as to who's at fault in the accident, and in a situation where the defendant isn't even really disputing the injuries or the extent and the cause of the injuries, those are the types of cases that will often settle without a lawsuit ever even being filed in court. But whether a case settles without a formal lawsuit or not, at some point during the case or during the claim, settlement negotiations between both parties will start. But generally, the settlement negotiations, whether or not a lawsuit has been filed, are not going to begin until the plaintiff, the injured party, has gotten a full diagnosis of their injuries and has, for the most part, recovered to the fullest extent possible from their injuries. And in a situation where it may entail long-term or even permanent rehabilitation therapy, settlement negotiations probably aren't going to begin at least until the lawyer has a full sense of the extent of the injuries and what type of recovery it's going to entail, the extent of medical bills, and just, how much treatment, how much therapy, and how expensive the medical bills are. Until you really get a sense of that, settlement negotiations aren't really likely to begin before that. So during the recovery process, the lawyer will investigate the claim, gather evidence, maybe taking pictures or speaking or getting reports from expert witnesses. They'll help facilitate payments of incoming medical bills with any available insurance policies and benefits. They will, at some point, gather all your medical bills and your medical records and review those for potential use as evidence. And in addition to that, they will communicate with opposing counsel, with the insurance companies. And if a lawsuit is filed, they'll communicate on your behalf with the courts and ensure that any filings are made in a timely manner. And generally speaking, in Massachusetts, a lawsuit on a personal injury claim must be filed within 3 years of the date of an accident. So the lawyer will obviously be responsible for ensuring the statute of limitations does not expire without filing a complaint beforehand. But as I said, any type of personal injury claim at some point is going to engage in settlement negotiations. And if a settlement cannot be met, that is a situation where a lawsuit will likely be filed or a civil complaint will be filed. And once that happens, the defendant, the at-fault party, or there may be more than one, they have to file an answer within 20 days of being served with the summons and the complaint. And that really kind of kicks off the formal civil legal process with respect to a personal injury claim. And then at some point, motions will likely be filed, interrogatories, there'll be an exchange of evidence, but throughout that process, there will probably be continued settlement discussions. But the legal process, the civil legal process, it can be lengthy and complex. So it's important to get an experienced personal injury attorney involved early on in the process. So if you or a loved one has been injured in a personal injury and think you have a potential personal injury claim, feel free to contact Riccio Law at 508-226-4500, and I'd be happy to meet with you for a free case evaluation.